beloved members of a popular reality TV show who have tragically passed away.
It started as a simple pawnshop show. Then everything around it started to change. When Pawn Stars premiered in 2009, few expected it to become a cultural phenomenon. But as the audience grew, so did the real-life stakes behind the scenes. Over the years, the cast faced losses, legal battles, personal transformations, and sudden departures that reshaped the dynamic fans thought they understood. The shop stayed open, but the people behind it didn't stay the same. So, where is the original cast now? And what really happened after the cameras kept rolling? Join us as we uncover what became of the Pawn Stars cast and the reality behind the show's success. Richard Harrison, the old man. Before there was even a show that people fell in love with, there was Richard Benjamin Harrison, known to every viewer simply as the old man. He was the co-founder of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop alongside his son, Rick, and the emotional anchor of the entire enterprise. His presence on screen communicated something that most reality television formats cannot manufacture: the specific credibility of someone who had genuinely built something with their hands over decades and was not performing expertise, but actually possessed it. Richard Harrison was born on August 4, 1941, served in the United States Navy, and opened the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop with Rick in 1989, nearly 20 years before any camera arrived. That timeline matters because it confirms the business the cameras documented was already real, established, and successful long before anyone suggested putting it on television. The old man was not a character built for a format. He was a man who had spent 2 decades building something legitimate, and the show was simply the world finally getting to see it. He was funny in a way that felt completely unrehearsed. His impatience with customers who overvalued what they were bringing in, his running commentary on the decisions Rick and Corey made when he thought those decisions were wrong, and his fondness for sitting in a specific spot in the shop and delivering judgments on everything happening around him made him genuinely entertaining without requiring any production engineering. The audience liked him because he was real. Unfortunately, his health declined through the later seasons of the show. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a degenerative neurological condition that affects movement and motor control, and the progression was visible to the audience that had watched him at full energy in the early years. He stepped back from active filming as the disease advanced, appearing less frequently and in shorter segments, until his capacity to keep pace with production was reduced enough that he was largely absent from the show he had helped create. Richard Harrison died on June 25, 2018, at the age of 77, from complications related to Parkinson's disease. Rick posted on Instagram that his father was his hero and that he was fortunate to have gotten such a cool old man. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop closed briefly for mourning. The History Channel honored his passing. The production deliberately decided not to replace him by casting someone else in an old man-type role, which was the right decision. The main cast became 3 people instead of 4, and the show kept going. What the old man left behind was considerably more complicated than a legacy of warmth and good television. After his death, Rick's mother, Joanne Harrison, filed a lawsuit claiming she had been coerced into signing over 51% of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop to Rick while she was hospitalized in the year 2000. She also alleged that Rick had not properly disclosed over $500,000 in cash and silver she believed her late husband had accumulated. The lawsuit sought unspecified damages, a court accounting of the business assets, and restrictions on Rick's use of funds she considered rightfully hers. The case added an uncomfortable legal dimension to a family that the public had spent a decade watching operate as a tight, if combative, unit. The old man never saw any of that play out. He left the show before it was over, and the business before the full extent of the family's internal tensions became public. His absence, and the legal and personal complications that followed it, shaped the direction of everything that came after him. The man who built the shop is gone. The man who inherited it is still standing at the counter, dealing with everything that inheritance brought with it. And the scale of what Rick Harrison is managing right now goes considerably further than most casual fans of the show would ever guess. Rick Harrison. Rick Harrison was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina, the son of Richard Benjamin Harrison Jr., a U.S. Navy veteran, and Joanne Rue Harrison. His family relocated to Las Vegas in 1981, and he began working at his father's gold and silver coin shop while simultaneously repossessing cars at night to supplement his income. He was a teenager doing 2 jobs in Las Vegas, which is the kind of origin story that produces either a very disciplined adult or a very damaged one. In Rick Harrison's case, it produced both the discipline and a genuinely self-made knowledge base. He was not a strong student in the conventional sense. He was diagnosed with epilepsy as a child and spent significant stretches of his youth unable to attend school regularly, using that time to read voraciously across history, economics, and science. That self-education became the foundation of the expertise he demonstrates in virtually every episode of the show. When Rick Harrison tells a customer the specific history of an object they have brought in, he is drawing from decades of genuine reading and genuine curiosity, not from research notes prepared by a production team. He and his father spent years trying to convert their coin shop into a full pawn shop, running directly into a 1955 Las Vegas city law that limited the issuing of new pawn licenses based on the city's population size. Rick reportedly called the city statistician every single week to track population growth so they could apply the moment a new license became available. In 1989, when the population threshold was finally reached, they obtained one of the rare licenses and officially opened the gold and silver pawn shop near the Las Vegas Strip. The shop that the show would eventually be built around was itself the product of years of patient, persistent effort by a man who called a government statistician every week because he wanted something badly enough to keep showing up. His net worth is currently estimated at between $9 and $10 million, built across the show's television income. His ownership stake in the shop, which is estimated at approximately 95%, with Corey holding the remaining 5%. Merchandise, endorsements, syndication royalties, the Pawn After Dark podcast, and the shop's ongoing business as one of the most visited tourist destinations in Las Vegas. The shop itself, as a brand and physical location, is valued at around $10 million. He has published an autobiography titled License to Pawn and has given public speaking engagements. The National Pawnbrokers Association formally honored him in 2010 for what it described as normalizing and uplifting the pawn industry on television. His personal life has moved through multiple chapters. He has been married 4 times. His third marriage to Deanna Burdett in 2013 included Counting Cars star Danny Coker as the officiant and Chumlee as the ring bearer, one of the more entertainingly on-brand wedding configurations in the history of reality television. That marriage ended in September 2020. He married Amanda Palmer in 2021, and they separated in 2023. He became engaged to Agrippina Polushkin, known as Angie, in March 2025, and they married on January 3, 2026, at a Little White Wedding Chapel in Las Vegas, with a second ceremony in Cancun. He has publicly stated that he does not believe in prenuptial agreements, despite his marital history, a financial philosophy that would make a pawnbroker in any other context raise an eyebrow. Corey was absent from the Cancun ceremony after sustaining multiple fractures from a motorcycle accident in Mexico, which, given the context of everything else happening in the Harrison family at the time, added another difficult layer to what should have been a straightforward celebration. The most significant and most personal development in Rick Harrison's life since the show began is the death of his son, Adam. Adam Harrison died from a fentanyl overdose in January 2024 at the age of 39. Adam had worked at the pawn shop for a period and later became a plumber, having reportedly never had any interest in appearing on the television show. Rick released a statement calling for stronger border control measures in the months after Adam's death, directly connecting the loss of his son to the fentanyl crisis and channeling his grief into political advocacy. His political positions have become increasingly visible since the show's peak years. He describes himself as more libertarian than conservative, believing that less government leads to a better economy. He has expressed serious interest in a potential Senate bid in Nevada, telling the Las Vegas Review-Journal that he has been approached by many in the party and has never said never to the idea of running. He spoke at the 2024 Republican National Convention. He has appeared on Fox News multiple times, discussing border policy and the fentanyl crisis. The pawnbroker from Las Vegas is now seriously entertaining a future in elected office. He still shows up at the shop, still negotiates, and does the Pawn After Dark podcast with Chumlee. And he is preparing to film a new version of the show without his son for the first time in its entire history. That combination of grief, ambition, political conviction, and professional continuity is a complicated picture of a man who keeps moving, because that is what the situation requires. And the man who will be standing beside him in the new episodes has been through his own long, complicated journey, one that most people who followed the show only partially know. Chumlee. Austin Lee Russell got the nickname Chumlee as a child because someone decided he resembled Chumlee the Walrus from a 1960s cartoon called Tennessee Tuxedo and His Tales. That is not the most flattering origin story for a name that would eventually be recognized by millions of people around the world. But it stuck, and the man who carries it has turned out to be considerably more resilient and interesting than the comic relief role the show originally asked him to play. He has been a childhood friend of Corey Harrison and has worked at the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop since before the show began filming in 2009. His earliest seasons were defined by his positioning as the guy who did not always know the value of what came through the door, the lovable underdog whose enthusiasm occasionally outpaced his expertise. The audience responded to that energy immediately, and in the assessment of many viewers over years of watching, Chumlee became the breakout personality of the show, not because he was the most knowledgeable, because he felt the most genuinely himself on camera. In March 2016, police executed a search warrant at his home in connection with an unrelated complaint. They found illegal drugs and unregistered weapons. He was charged with 20 felony counts, a number that generated enormous press coverage and a period of genuine uncertainty about whether his professional future and his personal freedom were about to end simultaneously. The charges were eventually downgraded to misdemeanors. He pleaded guilty, agreed to 3 years of probation and counseling, and completed both. He kept his position at the shop. He kept his place on the show. The probation ended without further incident. He moved forward. His physical transformation since the show's early years has been dramatic. He underwent a gastric sleeve procedure and lost approximately 160 pounds. He described the surgery in detail during an interview, explaining that a portion of his stomach was removed and what remained was reconstructed into a pouch approximately 6 to 9 inches in size. The transformation changed his appearance significantly enough that fans encountering him at public events occasionally need a moment of visual adjustment before recognition lands. He married his girlfriend, Olivia Redman, in 2018, and the marriage has provided the kind of stable personal foundation that his more chaotic years clearly lacked. He opened Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, a candy store on the Las Vegas Strip that has become a genuine tourist destination, drawing Pawn Stars fans who want to visit something connected to the show that they can walk into and experience directly. The store operates as both a business and a piece of the broader brand ecosystem that the show built around the gold and silver pawn shop neighborhood. He and Rick launched the Pawn After Dark podcast in February 2025, recorded in the back of the shop, which has been building a dedicated audience during the period between the show's most recent episodes and the new season scheduled for 2026 filming. The podcast gives both men a format that is more conversational and less structured than the television show allowed, and they appear comfortable in it, suggesting the chemistry between them has only deepened over 16 years of working in the same building. His net worth is currently estimated at approximately $5 million, built from his television income across the show's entire run, the candy store, merchandise, and his ongoing podcast work. The man who faced 20 felony counts in 2016 and was widely written off as a cautionary tale has arrived in 2026 as the co-star of a revived show, the owner of a thriving business, a married man, and a genuinely happy person by all available evidence. That arc, from comic relief to legal crisis to full comeback, is one of the more complete redemption stories in reality television. But while Chumlee was rebuilding and Rick was grieving and launching new projects, the third man in the original lineup was making a decision that nobody on the production team, and apparently nobody in his own family, saw coming in the specific way it arrived. Corey "Big Hoss" Harrison. Corey Harrison was born on April 27, 1983, and started working at the gold and silver pawn shop at the age of 9. He became the day-to-day operations manager, responsible for 30 employees, made more individual purchases than anyone else in the shop during the show's run, and negotiated a 5% ownership stake in the business with his father and grandfather during the show's 7th season. He was not merely a television personality standing in a family business for the camera. He was genuinely running significant portions of the operation. His nickname Big Hoss came from his size during the show's early years. He lost 192 pounds after a doctor told him he was pre-diabetic, making the decision to undergo lap band surgery on the same day he received the diagnosis. He described the decision as pulling into a weight loss clinic on his drive home from the doctor's office and putting the entire cost across 4 credit cards. The weight loss transformed his appearance so completely that longtime viewers sometimes did not recognize him in later seasons. He called it the most impulsive and most correct decision of his life. His personal life went through real difficulties. His first marriage to his high school sweetheart ended in divorce. A second marriage also ended. In 2023, he was arrested in Las Vegas for alleged DUI, a charge that generated tabloid coverage without resulting in sustained legal consequences. In September 2024, Corey Harrison left Las Vegas. He relocated to Tulum, Mexico, and has repeatedly stated that he has no intention of returning to the shop or the show. He launched a podcast called The Corey Harrison Show from Mexico, co-created with former Pawn Stars producer Jairus Cobb. His net worth is approximately $4 million, and he has publicly acknowledged that his earnings are no longer at the level they were when Pawn Stars was at its commercial peak. The specific manner of his exit from the show is the strangest detail in the whole situation. When a show representative confirmed the return of Pawn Stars with Rick and Chumlee as the featured co-stars, Corey found out about it from a reporter during a phone call from Mexico. His response was immediate. "That's news to me," he said. "Nobody told me anything." a man who spent the entirety of his professional life inside the family business, on camera with his father, found out he was no longer part of the show the way anyone else would, from someone breaking the news. In early 2026, Corey was involved in a serious motorcycle accident in Mexico that left him with 11 fractured ribs, a concussion, and significant facial injuries. He launched a GoFundMe to help cover his medical bills, which reached 6 figures. He has said publicly that his father encouraged him to pay for his own expenses rather than relying on family money, and that the family's financial situation is not what it was when the show was generating peak revenue. He missed Rick's wedding ceremony in Cancun because his injuries prevented him from traveling. The man who spent 25 seasons growing up on camera inside the family business is now sitting in Mexico with fractures, a podcast, and a GoFundMe. That is not the narrative arc that any Pawn Stars viewer would have written for Big Hoss. Of all the Pawn Stars cast members, which one do you think has had the most surprising life after the cameras found them? And do you honestly think the show can maintain its original energy with just Rick and Chumlee carrying it without Big Hoss? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.